Good day everyone, my name is Mark Jeffrey J. Prepose from grade 9C, and this is my video tutorial on enhanced mathematics talking about solving quadratic equations using 4 different methods. First of all, what is a quadratic equation? A quadratic equation is an algebraic expression of the second degree in x. The standard form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Where a and b are the coefficients, a and b, x is the variable, and c is the constant term. The first condition for an equation to be a quadratic equation is that the coefficient of x, which is a, must be a non-zero, meaning it should not be equal to 0. Our first method is extracting the square roots. We can use this method if our equation has a form of ax squared plus c equals to 0. On this method, we need to isolate x squared on the left side and square root both sides to find our answer. Now let's start on this first equation. 4x squared plus 9 equals to 0. Even though it doesn't have the bx term, it is still a quadratic equation because of the term ax squared, which is 4x squared, who has a 2 degree on its variable. Now, to isolate x squared, we must add 9. So, if we add 9 both sides, on the negative 9 will disappear because we added positive 9. Then our equation now is 4x squared is equal to 9. And to isolate x squared, we need to divide it by 4 both sides. Because we divided it by 4, the coefficient on the x squared will be removed. So it is cancelled. X squared is now 9 over 4. And our final step is add a square root sign on both sides. If we put a square root sign on a variable that has a square sign, the square sign will be removed. So the degree of 2 is gone. We all now have the x. And after doing maths, the square root of 9 over 4 is 3 over 2. And that's our answer for the first equation, 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. Now let's proceed to our second equation. 25x squared equals 100. It doesn't seem that its form is ax squared plus c equals to 0 because our c is now on the right side, replacing the 0. If we convert it to our proper form, the equation will be 25x squared minus 100 equals to 0 because we subtracted 100 on both sides, making the right side 100 and the left side have a negative 100. So let's proceed solving this. Our goal is to isolate x over x squared. So our only step is divide both sides by 25. After dividing 25, the 25 coefficient will be removed. X squared will remain, and 100 over 25 will be 4. Then, now, put square root sign on both sides, and resulting to x is equal to 2. And that's how you do extracting the square roots method. Now let's proceed on our third method for solving a quadratic equation. It is called completing the square. We can use this method if our a is equal to 1 and our b coefficient is divisible by 2, meaning it is an even number. Our goal is to isolate c on the right side and make the perfect square trinomial on the left side. So, we will put the positive 32 on the right side. So, we will subtract 32 both sides. So, making the equation to x squared plus 12x equals to negative 32. Now, to make the left side a perfect square trinomial, we will divide the b coefficient by 2, then square it. So, b over 2 squared. So, we'll input 12 on b, 12 over 2 b, then 6 squared is equal to 36. We have 36, so we will add 36 on both sides. X squared plus 12x plus 36. Now, we can factor the perfect square trinomial to make it have a square sign. If we do the math, it will be x plus 6 squared. It will be x plus 6 squared if we do the factoring method on the second type of method. Equal to, if we simplify it, it will be negative, it will be positive 4. Now, to continue our step, we will add squared signs on both sides. Square root of x plus 6 squared is equal to square root of 4. We know that a quadratic equation has two possible solutions. So, we will do two operations. Square root of x plus 6 squared equals 2 plus square root of 44. Then the next side is square root of x plus 6 squared equals to negative square root of 44 of 4. Now we will now just simplify it. If a square sign has a square root, we will now remove the square sign. It will now be x plus 6 equals to positive 2. On this part, it will be x plus 6 equals to negative 2. If we do the math, x is equal to negative 4 and x is equal to negative 8. And that's our answers. In the second part, now let's proceed on the second equation. We will now we will start converting it to a proper form of a quadratic equation. Thus, it will be x squared plus 6x plus 2 equals 0. It is said that in completing the square, we must isolate the c. So, x squared plus 6x is equal to negative 2. Now, to make it a perfect square trinomial, we use the formula b over 2 squared. So 6 over 2 squared is 3 squared, meaning it is 9. So we add 9 both sides. X squared plus 6x plus 9 negative 2 plus 9. Now we factor it again. So the final factor is x plus 3 squared, and we simplify this, it will be positive 7. Now we put square root signs on the both sides. Now we make two solutions. X plus 3 equals to positive square root of 7 and x plus 3 equals to negative square root of 7. Now we will simplify it. X plus 2 is equal to positive square root of 7 and x is equal to square root of 7 minus 3. Then if we simplify now this second part, will be x plus 3 is equal to negative square root of 7, x is equal to negative 3 minus square root of 7, and that's our answer. Our second method is factoring. We can use factoring if our equation has the usual form of a quadratic equation. On this first equation, our technique is find the factor of negative 10 that will have a sum of positive 3. Now we can write the factors of negative 10, which is negative 5 and positive 2, positive 5 and negative 2, negative 10 and positive 1, and 10 and negative 1. Before we find our factors, if our a coefficient is 1, we can do this technique. We can write our two parentheses. Now, let's find the factors of negative 10 that has a sum of positive 3. And our answer will be this. Positive 5 and negative 2. So we can now write our positive 5 and negative 2 to our two parentheses. So, positive 5 and negative 2. And that's our factor of the main equation. To find the answer x, we can separate these two parentheses to make it equal to 0. Thus, finding x. So we'll make x plus 5 equal to 0 and x minus 2 equals to 0. On this part, we can subtract both sides by 5, making x equals to negative 5. On this second part, we can add 2 on both sides, making x equal to positive 2. And that's our answer. X is equal to negative 5 and x is equal to positive 2. Now let's proceed on second equation. We cannot do our procedure that we did on the first equation because our a coefficient is 3. Our first step is multiply the coefficient a to our constant, which is negative 2. Positive 3 times negative 2 is equal to negative 6. Then our our b coefficient is 1. Even though we cannot see 1 on this x, it has a imaginary coefficient 1. Now on our next step is think of a number that multiplies to negative 6 and has a sum of positive 1. Let's write our factors of negative 6. Positive 2, positive 3 and negative 2. Negative 6, positive 1, positive 6 and negative 1. For our answer, it will be positive 3 and negative 2. Now our next step is we rewrite our equation but breaking down positive x using this positive 3 and negative 2. It will become 3x squared. Then we insert this 2 on the equation. Positive 3x, because our variable is x. The negative 2x minus 2 equals 0. We did this because our coefficient in x was 1. Positive 3 and negative 2 sums to 1. Now we'll do the grouping technique. 3x squared plus 3x, group it, then negative 2x minus 2 equals 0. Now we can do what we did on the first equation by factoring and finding GCF. The GCF of this first part is 3x. 3x squared divided by 3x is x. Then 3x divided by 3x is positive 1. Then parentheses. Minus we must find the GCF of these two. It will be 2. 2x divided by 2 is x. Negative 2 divided by 2 by negative 2 is positive 1. Now we can combine these four terms, making it a two binomial terms, because we have a common factors, which is x plus 1. So we will write x plus 1, then our multiples 3x and negative 2. 3. And this is the factor of the equation 3x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. To find our answer, we will make the thing we did on the first equation, which is make the parentheses equal to 0. X plus 1 equals to 0. Then on the second part, 3x minus 2 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0 will be x is equal to negative 1. This part, we will do math. The 3x is equal to positive 2. If we divide both sides by 3, x will be 2 over 3. And that is our final answer. X is equal to negative 1 and x is equal to 2 over 3. And that's how we do factoring method on solving quadratic equation. Now let's proceed on our final method on solving the quadratic equation. This method only uses one thing, the quadratic formula. Negative b, then plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a. The only thing we will do is input the given symbols to our formula. Our a will be 6, our b will be negative 17, our c will be positive 10. Now let's input the numbers on the formula. If negative b will be negative 17, it will be positive. It will be positive 17. Plus or minus b squared, negative 17 squared minus 4a is 6 and c is 10, all over 2a. It is 6. Now first we will simplify the square root thing. Positive 17 plus or minus square root of 17, square of negative 17 will be positive 289. Minus, if we simplify 4 times 6 times 10, it will be 240. All over 2 times 6, it is equal to 12. If we subtract this, it will be square root of 289 minus 240, it is equal to 49, all over 12. Then, simplify this square root. 17 plus or minus, it will be 7. Then, let's make a two-term solutions. 17 plus 7 over 12, and 17 minus 7 all over 12. So, x is equal to 17 over 7 over 12 or 24 over 12 or 2. And x is equal to 17 minus 17 over 12, 10 over 12 or 5 over 6. Our answer is these two. X is equal to 2 and x is equal to 5 over 6. Now let's proceed on the second equation. We will convert first this into a proper form of quadratic equation. 3x squared plus 5x. 2 is our c. It is the constant. So we will move it to the left so it will be a proper form of quadratic equation. So we will subtract 2 both sides. Negative 2 equals to 0. Now let's now list our ABC symbols. A is equal to 3, B is equal to 5, and C is equal to negative 2. Let's do our formula. Negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over A. Our B is 5, so it will be negative 5 plus or minus 5 squared minus 4. A is 3, then C is negative 2 all over 2A is 3. We simplify this part, negative, it will be 25 minus negative 24. Then 2 times 3 is 6. If we continue with negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 49, 5 minus negative 24 is 49 all over 6. X will now be negative 5 plus square root of 49 over 6, and x is equal to negative 5 minus square root of 49 all over 6. So x is equal to negative 5 plus 7 over 6, negative 5 minus 7 over 6. So x is 2 over 6 or 1/3, and x is equal to negative 12 over 6 or negative 2. And that's how we solve a quadratic equation using quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Thank you for watching about my lesson, our video tutorial on solving quadratic equation using the 4 different methods.